For 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all of our witnesses for joining us today. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to enter this picture into the record.
Without objection.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on this topic because, y'all, I am living through my own experience directly related to the impact of climate change on housing and insurance. So I bring my full lived experience to this hearing today. If you look at the image behind me, this is my 7-year-old son, my Carter Cakes, holding a golf ball-sized piece of hail from a hailstorm that was in my neighborhood on March 26th of this year. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, y'all might be thinking, what's so extraordinary about a picture of hail? Well, it was quite exciting for Carter, but that Sunday evening, my entire neighborhood experienced a catastrophic hailstorm which dropped these golf ball-sized hailstones on our homes, causing so much damage to our roof that we had to file an insurance claim. I would like to say that the story ends there, but sadly, it doesn't. Because of this extreme weather event, which was out of my control and happening more and more frequently, especially in the warm state of Georgia, I was notified that my insurance agency, State Farm, was deciding not to renew my homeowner's insurance. So as of July 29th, I have no idea what I'm gonna do. My husband, who's with me here today, I don't know what we're gonna do for homeowner's insurance because State Farm won't renew our policy because we filed a claim. I was devastated because this is a necessity for homeowners and it's a requirement for most mortgages, including mine. As insurance companies increase premiums and refuse to renew policies due to increasingly common extreme weather, first-time home buyers from marginalized communities will be the most impacted. This can ultimately stall any progress that has been made in closing the racial wealth gap through home ownership, one of the primary drivers of wealth generation for Black and brown communities. And this means that places like Atlanta, my home, and unfortunately the national leader in the racial wealth gap, my constituents' hard-earned equity is being destroyed by climate change because it's real, y'all. But unfortunately, I'm not the only American who has been or will be dropped by their insurance agency due to extreme weather events beyond our control. Just look at the insurance companies pulling out of states like California due to wildfires or Louisiana due to floods. Insurance companies are actively evaluating the risk of insuring homes in the areas most impacted by extreme weather and realizing how detrimental climate change is for their business. Because climate change is real and it does have an economic impact on the long-term profitability of companies. Clearly, climate change needs to be considered in the decisions of insurance companies, but we also need to make sure that our most marginalized communities who are most impacted by climate change are not prevented from building wealth through home ownership. Ms. Nagy, maybe, am I getting your name right?
Nagy.
Nagy. What actions can the federal government take to lower insurance costs for Americans and make sure that homeowners remain insured?
Thank you for that question, Congresswoman Williams. I'm so sorry that happened to you. That's really not fair because you were doing everything you were supposed to. You were paying money for your insurance, and it sounds like they were happy to take your money
every month
when things were going well. And then all of a sudden, when you need them, once you actually have a problem, then they withdraw coverage. I mean, that doesn't sound like a good neighbor. That sounds like a fair weather friend. You're not alone, unfortunately. 400,000 Floridians lost access to property insurance in 2022 alone. So if this is what a lack of regulation is doing to consumers who are doing nothing wrong, and this is a real problem and one where the federal government should step in. Now, obviously, the federal government doesn't regulate insurance at the Fed, because it's a state issue. But I do think there are things that states can do, or that the federal government can do. I'm very interested in examining public reinsurance options. Because, as we know, the reinsurance market is global. They're not even in this country, so we can't really, we don't have very much to say about what they're doing with their rates, how they're setting them. So I think that is, one major area to explore. And I think you could have buy-ins like consumer protections. You can't just drop people when they have problems. Like you have to continue to provide services, or have, state-run fair plans. They should be more affordable to you.
Mr. Chairman, I am out of time, but I have many more questions because of this impact that is personal to me and my neighbors, and I would love to present them for the so that I could get a written response for the record.
For the record.
Thank you.